Oh, that didn't work the way I thought it would. Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
All right. So I am going to say, hey, Mac.
Hey, Dan.
I'm going to say, how does this work? Oh, I was so slick. I was practicing this with other people. Bam. And I was way slicker. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to say is we've started the stream a snag earlier than expected because we're working with this new Restream platform. And so if you are watching this after the fact and you're like, when is this show going to start? Scrub forward about 15 minutes, and you'll have gone through the lesson, and the stories will start then. Thank you for everybody who's watching this afterwards, and thank you to everybody who's shown up to the show a little bit early and is watching us get together. Make sure that I have everything on mute that's playing. I need to share those. Susan didn't get the link. Just a second. Let's see if I can invite her from here. Chat and stream. Cool. What if we? How have you been doing?
You asking me? All of us? I'm good. Just kind of holding my breath here as you're getting started.
Yeah. I need to be lowered a little bit. There we go. Hey, Noah's made it. There we go.
Wow.
All right. So it is 6 o'clock, and we are streaming, and people are in the audience. So let's start the show, Mac.
Okay, great. Welcome to the Workshop Show. The guy you can see who's got the I got to get rid of this. The guy who's got the real mic and the headphones on, that's our co-host and producer, Daniel Andrew Boyd.
Hey, and my co-host is Mac Devitt, and he is a lover of stories.
All right, and let's tell you about how this show is going to go down. It's pretty much the same each time. We've got the formula worked out. The first thing is Dan is going to start out and give us a quick 20-minute lesson about what to think about when you're telling stories. And next, our storytellers are going to introduce themselves, and we use a prompt to do that. I'm going to share that with you now, so you can think about it in the chat. I like water or another liquid best when ... So if you got some thoughts about that, you can share that in the chat. And then the heart of our show really begins. We have two different storytellers. Each one is going to tell a story. And after each story, our crew will get together and with them and share questions, comments, suggestions. And you as audience members can go ahead and put your own questions or chat as well. And then after they get their feedback and we have a good conversation with them, the real magic of Workshop begins. Because each teller is going to use their feedback and use their own creative sense of what they want to do in their own voice and immediately tell a new version of their story. So together we'll experience the impact of that. Did the new version of the story work better? Were we in our feedback? Or did it really help the teller get closer to the heart of the story? Wait, now there's something I forget each time right about at this point.
I'll take it. And that is that we are a sort of closed circle. We're hanging out with you in the chat, but we're a group of friends. We know each other. We know each other's stories. We respect each other. We give each other the benefit of the doubt. So a lot of times, if you're an outsider coming to this show for the first time and you see somebody pour their heart out with a rough draft, and you think, boy, those guys are being really cruel. All they're talking about is craft and structure and how to have it be more impactful or less impactful and blah blah blah, and they should just reach over and give that guy a hug. Just know that this is what we come here for. It's that back and forth, it's that craft talk, and it's not criticism. What it is constructive feedback. We're helping people build their stories out, and we can do it in this very direct manner because we get along with each other, we know each other, and we know that it's about the story and not about the person. The story is going to change over time, but all the people that we bring in for the show are good people, and we're all friends, and we're all going to hang out afterwards.
Yes, and any of our guest tellers who come into this circle with us, they instantly become our friends too. So we're truly all friends here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to say that right near the end of the show, we have one final piece of workshop magic, usually in the last 15 minutes of the show. And that's fairly unique. One of our crew members is going to retell one of the stories that you hear tonight in their own perspective, as if they lived through that. So we'll get to that in the last 15 minutes. So back to you, Dan.
I am going to, real quick, before I start my lesson, I'm going to go into a little thing, and I'm going to say, hi, Susan. Glad everybody could make it up. Hi, Kay. And hey. I'm going to say that Drew says hi to Nestor. He threw it in the comments.
Thanks for coming through, man. Appreciate it, bro.
And then we'll get to Lucky's 13's answer to the question in just a minute. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so top of the show, I'm going to do a lesson here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about emotional arc and empathy, and I'm going to give you 3 words that I'm probably not going to get to today, but it'll be something that way you've heard these words, and when I talk about them next week, you can have them, they're in your vocabulary. And maybe you, if you're so inclined, you do some research, or you think, oh yeah, I remember in grade school, or I remember in my first composition class, they talked about these things. So the 3 words that I just want in your head is kairos, ethos, and pathos. And those are a big part of emotional arc in my understanding of it and what I'm going to be teaching. But before that, I got all sorts of goofy news. And just clean up to understand, we are the workshop show, but the party that runs us is a not-for-profit called Storyluck. And Storyluck produces a bunch of different shows and has throughout the course of their history. Journey to the End of the Night, the Storyluck Show, a month of. Currently, if you go to storyluck.org, you can find a 99-second storytelling contest that is a bunch of stuff. And we also did the Tertiary Delight podcast. And so, and of course, the main thing that we're working on right now, our main show, is this, the Workshop. And there's a question that often gets asked about how we're funded and how things work. And basically, we ran a successful Kickstarter many years ago, and we live off that, and we live off of funding from our board. we're not good at asking for money, and we don't like to do it, and we want to keep this show free. One of the things we want it to be accessible. But one of the things that I want to talk about in the articles that we're publishing in at storyluck.org recently, Noah, can I do it like that? Noah here has been pushing out. He's been taking the old shows that we've done from Workshop and building them out. He takes the transcripts and then he cuts them down into morsel sizes for people to be accessible and read, and we sort of work on them together. And I just want to say thank you so much. Working on that project with you, we've gotten a lot of good notes. It's started a lot of good conversations online, but also just from my perspective, it's really helped me understand the material and, you know, teach it better in the future. So when you go to our website, a lot of times you will see advertisements for things that we've talked about either in the show or we've written articles about. And I just want to say, so everybody knows that we have a relationship with those places. And so if you click on any of those links, they're an affiliate link and we make money from that. This is not to say, do not go and just click on the links a million times thinking that, you know, I can give them pennies. That would be against the terms of service. Don't do stuff like that. But if we talk about a book and you enjoy it, and you click on it and you buy it, then we will receive a small amount of commission for that. And I bring this up because to do this show, I have been reading a ton of books. And so there's been more articles about books on there, but I've also been taking a bunch of online courses. And one of them that I've talked a little bit about, but not a lot, is that I've been going through the master classes that are pretty popular and probably a lot of people have seen them online. I haven't been talking about them a lot, even though I've been spending a lot of time on them. I've been working on articles for them, but in part because I reached out to them and they've recently gotten back to us and they said that they would love to be an affiliate with us. And so we're going to start running articles about them, and we will get a commission if you're so inclined to pick up that course. I think they're great. I'm never going to talk about something that I don't think is good, even if I criticize it. Anything that we link to on the site, we think you should buy. That's just sort of the ethos of it. We're not a review site. We're just telling you stuff that's cool. Susan asked where TJ is. TJ is going to be running late, and so he can't be in chat. Kay, it looks like you're in chat. So if you can sort of take over his job and say hi to people, I can see that you're doing that. Okay. So thank you for listening. That's the overall thing we're going to be working on. I've got a bunch of David Sedaris articles that are going to be coming out next week. Noah's going to be continuing pushing out articles about our show. And so storyluck.org just has a lot of stuff, a lot of content in it right now. And we appreciate it if you show up and check it out. Today's lesson, and it's going to be a pretty quick one, is about the emotional arc of storytelling. And one of the things that I want to talk about is arc in general. You just think of it like this, like a literal arc, but you can map. It's a way for us to have a common language about story. So if you've never heard that term before, it just means, introduction, setting. Then you go to the next space, which is the conflict, and there's this rise in tension on your way there, and then you resolve it. You resolve the conflict, you lower the tension, and you sort of end up at a slightly different spot that looks like an arc. That's one way to map it out. But you could really choose any sort of structure and then put those 3 points in them. But
we use that term as a common parlance as to what we're talking about. Generally, you think of the arc as the plot points in the story. And it's those three things: the setting and the setting and the introduction are kind of the same. And then it's the conflict, and then it's the resolution. And this happened, and then this happened, and then this is how it ended. That is one arc, but there's also an arc that's emotional. There's an emotional journey that you as a character or you as a narrator go through. And that usually mirrors those plot points, but it doesn't have to, and it doesn't always. There's also little arcs that you can plot out along the way. If there's other characters in the story, they're going through things, and they will have these plot arcs, and they will have these emotional journeys, and they'll be having them at different paces, and they all interact to create this sort of propelling motion through the story that keep us as listeners and the audience interested and pushing forward into the story, so we all want to know how it ends. In terms of this idea of emotional arc, one of the things you can think about in your story is it might not have the same place. It might not map as closely as you would think normally. And I'm just going to give one example of that. And that's Mac told a story a few weeks ago about being a little kid and imagining that he was a war fighter, and he runs out with his friends and he kicks a hornet's nest, and all these bees come after him, and then he keeps running and he escapes the bees. Now, he has the setting, him as a kid playing, and then there's the conflict, him and the bees. And then that gets resolved. He runs away and gets away from the bees. But the emotional arc in that story really doesn't get resolved until the end. The emotion of it takes it a little bit further than that original resolution. And that emotional resolution doesn't happen until he's the narrator and he's reflecting back on that. And he realizes that the way he saw it as a kid is a little different than how he sees it now as an adult. A lot of times, if you carry that emotional arc all the way to the end, that is one way to end with weight. That way, you've got the plot movement, but we're still sitting there thinking, how is the emotional arc going to resolve? And that can give this sense of catharsis. Oh, now I get the whole sense of it right at the end. And that's my lesson for today. I'm going to talk more in depth in that, in thinking about emotional arcs and how to create connection with the audience, and those words ethos, pathos, and kairos in next week's lesson. Thank you, everybody. And we're going to introduce people now. Dun, dun, dun. Can I swing back? There we go. Did it work? It looks like you're talking, Mac, but I can't hear you.
Hi. I'm going to have each storyteller, our storytelling crew, and our guest teller introduce themselves just by responding to this prompt in a few sentences. And the prompt tonight is, I like or another liquid best when. And I think for me to do this is just to go ahead and call on folks, okay? Susan, I'm going to start with you.
So I like water best when it's in a lake and I can just gaze at it.
Oh,
Super.
yeah.
Let's see. Noah, how about you?
I like water best when it's warm and wavy and stretches to the horizon.
Very similar. I'm gonna jump in real quick
Sure,
and
Dan.
check through these. Dun dun dun. Somebody said one really early. 13 is lucky said either when it's room temperature or hot with a lemon wedge. Close runner up is when it's rough. Oh, when it's run through coffee beans.
Yeah, I saw that one too. That's great. So, Dan, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go next. I drink almost exclusively water, and I used to do half and half with orange juice, but now I'm more like 3/4 water and 1/4 orange juice.
Okay. Drew, how about you?
Wow. I like water best when it's hot, brother. Yeah. Straight up. I mean, when I'm sweating, putting in some work, well, do my thing. I love water.
Thanks. Kay.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, I like water best when it's room temperature. It's just aiding my digestion. It's making my inner fat kid feel satiated, like I'm doing something good.
Nice. Well, I'll finish with I like water best when it's pouring over my head in a waterfall. I've had this experience a few times.
Oh, that's a
And
good one.
it's pouring down my head, and it's the kind of it's called Stacy Brook. I can just lean back, and the water is like right in front of me, and then I can stick my head back out again. All right, Dan, back to you.
Yeah. So we're gonna open it up and throw it out. Do we have? We've got two storytellers for us tonight. Andrew and Kay. Do you have any preferences as to who goes first?
Ladies first.
All right. Are you up for that?
Yeah, that sounds great. So I don't really recall he and I having a title, but for the purposes of this story, I'll call him my boyfriend. So my boyfriend is staring at me intently, which is unusual for him. And he says, "Don't go. I love you. I'm in love with you. Let's talk. If you still want to go, I'll buy you a new ticket." This is coming from the man who, on top of not having any titles between us, doesn't believe in marriage. He refers to it as an institution. He doesn't want any more children. He has one little one from his last relationship. And even though he's a really caring father, he swears it's a one and done situation for him. So, no titles, no babies, nowhere to go from there. I hope you will understand me then when I tell you that due to this whole looming possibility of having a future that looks nothing like what I hoped for, I did not have that talk with him. In fact, I knew that telling him I was moving to Chicago would elicit like some kind of response from him, but I definitely didn't expect him to say what he said. After 2 years of dating, the first time he told me he loved me was right then when I told him I was leaving. Now, I knew that I loved Baltimore, and almost any excuse could have kept me there. I loved the tall ships and the murky water in the harbor downtown. I loved the water taxi rides across to Fells Point. It's a neighborhood where you can just like feel the cobblestone of the street under your shoes. I love the smell of steamed crabs and spicy Old Bay seasoning wafting around at any given moment for most of the year. I love Baltimore club music and the spontaneous dancing that it would normally inspire. I love that the largest museums were free. It was like they actually thought that beauty belonged to everyone. And something small like getting a chicken box with a piece of white bread that I never ate, they would always give you too many ketchup packets. I love that if you went to a restaurant and asked for half and half, that they would nod and they would come back with half iced tea, half lemonade, and would never incorrectly dub it an Arnold Palmer. It is not an Arnold Palmer. I love the city fiercely. And I knew so many friends who were thinking of moving because they felt like they had outgrown it. But I felt comfortable there. I felt like even when something was bad, I knew what to expect, which is why I decided to leave. I have always believed in that old adage that if you love something, you let it go. I told my boyfriend that I loved him too. And 3 days later, I was in Chicago. I did not know what to expect there. And apparently, that was everything.
Um, whew. Right off the bat, I think that opening line is very powerful. I think you sort of very quickly open into dialogue. This guy says, "I love you, don't go." That's a good hook that we want to find out what's going on. Why are you leaving? The question we normally start out with here, and I'll go to it now. How did you feel about it in the moment of telling it? What are things that you noticed?
I felt pretty good. It's actually longer than I wanted because I wanted to try our 99-second story slam format.
Yeah.
When I clocked it in practice, it was 168 seconds. So I've got like 69 seconds to shave off. I've got a little more than a minute to shave off if I did it that way. But in the telling of it, I felt like I said what I wanted to say. So I'm wondering where I would actually trim and still feel good about it.
Yeah. Nestor is thrown out. He loves it when he said that he loved you. That's like how you knew. That's when you knew. So that's a that's a moment. The description of Baltimore. 13 is lucky. Has thrown out that she loves Baltimore, and it made her miss it. Your description of it. I think that description was like really fun for us, and I don't know a lot about Baltimore, but it put me in that place. That idea of the cinema of the mind. I super went there. Steamed crabs and all the little things. I'm going to open it up to other people. Whoa, what's everybody thinking?
Well, I'll tell you, Kate, I love the story. But when you told me you were going for a 99-cent story, it's like a dollar store story. Oh, my heart just sank. Because one is, that's not my favorite format at all, because it's just so short. Two is, I wanted to know more. So I just tell you one thing that you might think about if you want to play with the story. Do you want us to work at trying to help you make it 99 cents?
99
Maybe.
seconds.
I know, Dan. I'm thinking about the dollar store. Maybe.
That could be very helpful because I was looking at it like, what do you not need to know here? I felt like you need to know.
Well, I'll tell you
that would
one
be
thing
helpful.
that I think could, no matter what the size, could kind of bunk it at the end. And that's if you said something about Chicago. In other words, do you feel like that's the biggest mistake you've ever made to live in Chicago? Do you have those same, and now you have all those same feelings about Chicago? Just something because just like you landed at the other end and now have that experience of Chicago, if just even a sentence for the contrast might help.
Thank you. I will make this note.
Yeah, so I guess I'm interested in that question too. I felt similarly, not knowing that this was a 99-second for you. I was like, oh, I want to build this all out. But for today, do you want us to work on trying to make it a tight 99?
I would like that. And I debated saying something about Chicago, but I almost felt like this story to me is about like what you leave behind and what you take with you and not knowing what's in front of you. So it's just like I didn't know what I was getting into, y'all as my audience don't know what I got into.
Yeah. So one thing is you can pack more into a 99 than you think you can, and you can get a lot into a couple of words or a sentence. So giving us that feeling, you might be able to give it to us even with just letting us see you heading there a little bit. I don't, that's just a thought. Yeah. People want to hear it again, and we think we can run through it maybe a couple times because it's shorter. So one of the things that I'm thinking about here, though, that I'd also like to get an answer to. What would you say? Do you have a thesis statement for it?
Yeah, that, to find what you might love the most, you have to let go of what you're familiar with sometimes.
Okay. Now, that could mean you found what you love the most outside of Baltimore, but it could also mean that you couldn't love Baltimore as much as you do without having left it.
Yeah. I think it's that second one. Like I already knew that I loved Baltimore, but that idea of this was my 20s, my earlier 20s, mid 20s. So it was like, hey, most of my friends, I included that. They're like, hey, I'm ready to go. I've seen it. I've done it all. Baltimore is a small, big city. Where else can we go? And I was like, okay, y'all, every city has got its good and bad. You should appreciate Baltimore more. And I certainly do now since I've lived in Chicago, Atlanta, DC.
Do you feel like does anybody have anything else that they're like burning to say, Susan or Noah?
I love the story. I was shocked at the ending because I was like, "What? We're done?" I thought it was a great story. You hooked me right in. I'm just like, yeah. Now what? What's she gonna do? But trying to get it down to the 99 seconds or cents, whichever it is. There's some stuff in the chat which is probably relevant, where they said that maybe like shorten just like how much the boyfriend wasn't going to be a long-term kind of guy. Like could probably like get that across and not have to list, every little detail. Maybe is what they were thinking, and that was in the chat. But yeah, I love the story, and yeah, it was that ending was like left me hanging, but that's kind of cool too.
Thank you.
All right. So from this, because we're working on a super tight one, we can try it a couple times. Do you feel like you've got enough that you want to play with it?
I think so. I think I can shorten a little bit about the boyfriend. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that is enough for, and I guess maybe I need to tighten some of the description of Baltimore. I was like,
You could,
Baltimore.
You could think about just doing 3 Baltimore things. Like 1,
Okay.
2, 3. For me, the catch-up was really unexpected and powerful, and the drink. But pick 3 that really land it, and I think that would help.
Yeah, the rule of 3 is good.
Okay.
Yeah, let's give it a run through, and we'll all be listening with that ear of like, where's the 99?
Gotcha. Okay, thanks. So I don't recall that he and I ever had a title. I'll just call him boyfriend for now. Um, my boyfriend is staring at me intently, which is unusual for him. And he says to me, "Don't go. I love you. I'm in love with you. Let's talk. If you still want to go, I'll buy you a new ticket." This from the man whose motto is essentially no titles, no babies, nowhere to go from here. So I hope you'll understand that I didn't have that talk with him. In fact, I knew telling him that I was moving to Chicago was going to elicit some type of response from him, but I didn't expect him to say what he said.
This from the man whose motto is
After
essentially
2 years of
no
dating,
titles,
the
no
first time he told me he loved me
nowhere
was
to go
right
from
then when
there.
I told him I was leaving. And I can tell you one thing, I love Baltimore. I loved the tall ships and the murky water in the harbor downtown. I love being in the Fells Point neighborhood with the cobblestone of the street under your feet. I love getting a chicken box with some fries and a slice of white bread that I don't even eat, and they always give you too many ketchup packets. I love this city so much. Had friends who were always talking about moving because they thought they had outgrown it, and I just felt comfortable there, um, which was why I knew I had to leave. I believe that old adage that if you love something, you let it go. I told my boyfriend that I loved him too. 3 days later, I was in not Baltimore, but Chicago, not knowing what to expect. And that really was everything.
Okay, that was 1 minute and 50.
Super long.
No. 1 minute 39 is 99 seconds.
Oh, great. Okay, you made it sound much better. Thank you.
So we gotta shave 10 seconds, basically. 15, something like that. I can't do math.
But
10 to
hopefully
20
not tonight. One telling to rule them all.
Do you mind? Can we talk about it a little bit more though? Like where we would put it?
Yeah, I would
Even
love
without
more
making
feedback on it.
Yeah. I feel like this one did help me capture what was going on. Knowing that it was meant to be a 99 second helped me think about it in those terms. I'm gonna open up the floor. What did people think?
I liked it a lot. It was a lot tighter this time. I think the 3 details, that was something I was going to say as well. And I think it worked really well. And I like the order. I like the ones that you picked and the order you put them in. I do think the ending needs something more of a bang, because that's just like the last thing you're left with. And, you remember the beginning and the end the best, I think. At least I do. So some line maybe, it seems like it fit the format.
So Kay, here's something to think about. I'm thinking what you must have felt like when you actually got on the plane and sat down. And maybe it was taking off or whatever. And I wonder what you felt inside. And that might be a good place to kind of, bring or a moment. Maybe it's the moment when you checked your baggage. I don't know. But I think that
did you plane here?
I actually took the Greyhound.
Oh,
and a friend met me when I got here, and like it was great. There are too many Chicago stories, but yeah, I like that, Mac. Thank you about like how it felt to sit down in the seat.
Yeah, I think Greyhound. I've got some Greyhound stories, and I think that image of people who have done a Greyhound, they know.
It's exciting. Yes,
it's fantastic for some value of fantastic. I sort of cherish my Greyhound stories.
But that door closes on the Greyhound, and there's that kind of. It's so final, Oh.
Yeah, I was locked on a Greyhound for an hour one time.
Locked on
and
it.
Then
okay.
We called the station, and finally someone let us out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We should have a whole story slam, like a whole story luck workshop dedicated to travel stories. Like I got the Greyhound for you.
I think just straight up bus stories. I want a show that's all stories of riding buses.
Oh yeah, I'm in.
A bunch of people are shooting stuff out. Nestor wants to know, you love Baltimore so much in this story. What's calling you away? Is it just the relationship? Is that a big part of it?
I literally ran from the relationship because I feel like if somebody's kept it casual with you for 2 years, they don't make it serious when you say you're going to leave. I was definitely ready to let that be what it was. And also, I am a big proponent of another like piece of folk wisdom that like you like get religion before God finds you. Like go find religion before God finds you. So are you not familiar with that one?
No.
Yeah, go find religion before God finds you, which I interpret as if everything's good and the sea is calm, you better go make a change for yourself. You better opt into positive change or life will happen to you because it always happens to you. So you can either, chart a course forward for yourself that you think you might get some value out of, or life is still going to present itself and you might not like what you get handed. Not that you can help what you get handed, but you can definitely help opting into something that might benefit you.
Yeah. This is too line edity, but I'm gonna say it. But I do feel more strongly on this one that I want to see a little bit of Chicago and know where you're headed. The emotional arc of this story, since that's what we're talking about, sort of is concluded throughout the whole thing. Before this guy says it, that this is done. There's nothing he's gonna do to change your mind. And so this 99-second story is interesting because it's all at that moment of climax. It's right at the resolution. It's, you had the conflict outside of the story where you were struggling with the decision to leave him and move on with your life. And so that's a really interesting thing about this story. And I think it's a cool thing to try to change that structure and just be in that moment. It still feels like it has an arc because he asks you to stay, right? There's sort of that, even though it's not emotional, real conflict, we get to see it reflected in him.
he's going through that. So it was sort of like a little bit what I was talking about, right? You in a story have an arc, and then all these characters have little arcs too. And those little things will help move us along, just like the major play of the story. Boom, 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 boom. So the line edit that I was thinking about was just to name something famous in Chicago. Like I'm standing in Baltimore and I am facing north towards the Sears Tower or something like that, so that we know where you're headed. And then you can go, we know you're in Baltimore. I do think if you give us this scene, that will help us be like, is she gonna go? Where is she headed? And it's not. Yeah. The question is, do you want it to be a surprise that you're going to Chicago? I don't think you do. So I think you give it to us right in the beginning so that you have that parallel structure. You talk about Chicago and then you end in Chicago.
So you want to see like a landmark in Chicago to see that I've arrived, or you want me to talk from my seat on the Greyhound about what I might see when I reach Chicago?
No, first line of the story is my suggestion here.
The very first line. I'm heading to Chicago.
I'm heading to Chicago. And I think Chicago has so many iconic things that you could just name one of them that you're going to go see.
I got you.
I'm in Baltimore, but I'm thinking about Chicago. I think that will be enough to set us in the place, and we know the trajectory of the story, that we'll be able to follow it. And when you get into that seat, if you do the Greyhound seat scene, we know, she did it. She did what she said she was going to do in the beginning. And that's the payoff for us. Yeah, it looks like you're oh, no. These, I'm looking these over real fast. So Nestor's thrown out. So you love the man and the city, but neither one was able to tell you that they loved you back. And by the time he did, you were ready to find somewhere else.
I like that synopsis.
Yeah.
You should tell the 99-second version of my story.
You would do a very good job.
Yeah.
Nestor is a great storyteller. It sounds like you felt all the memories in Baltimore were also asking you to stay. And then 13 is lucky is throwing out, I actually kind of moved to Chicago from Baltimore in the same sort of way. There's a guy crying, asking me to stay. I will also admit that I have a move story. Nobody was crying for me to stay, but it was like, I got to get out of this relationship. And one of my friends. Well, I didn't want to throw out who it was, Noah. But obviously we have reconciled. So thank you so much for sharing the story with us, Kay. And I look forward to the 99-second version.
Thank you. It's coming up soon.
Yeah. Are you you're going to do a video for us?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Moving on. Are you ready, Andrew?
Yeah, bro, that's good.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and highlight you real fast. We're ready when you are.
All right. Well, it's 1984. I'm 12 years old. I've got my watermelon pop rocks in one hand. I've got my Jolt Cola in the other hand. And I'm about to watch my favorite show, Miami Vice. Now I turn on the TV, I'm ready to go, and the phone rings. I pick up the phone and I say, "What?" I said, "Hello? Hello?" I'm trying to watch my show, and I hear a voice, and the voice is, "Hey, this is mommy." "Mommy? Mommy?" Now you gotta understand something, man. I ain't seen my mom in 6 months. See, my mom is a Rolling Stone. She just dropped me and my brothers off here at my grandma's house and just disappeared. And now I got her on the phone, and she's telling me that she's coming to pick me up. "Mijo, I'm un favor. I'm coming to get you in about 10 minutes. Pack a bag. You're going to stay with me for the weekend." I'm like, "Mom, really? Mom, you're going to come get me right now?" "Hell yeah, I'm down with that, Mom." So I went and I packed a bag. I grabbed everything that I could possibly find. I just threw it inside the bag. Boom, I had my backpack on. I'm downstairs. And there I see my mom rolling up. And she rolls up. And I can hear the salsa music from a distance, almost half a block. Ding, da, 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 ding, do, da, ding, do, 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 ding, do, da. And she rolls up, and of course, she's got her Virginia Slims, because my mom is a New Eurekan from the Bronx who likes to smoke Virginia Slims. And she pulls up, the window comes down, and she says, "Get in." I jump in the car. I'm happy now, bro, because I'm out of this environment that's absolutely negative, and I get to spend the weekend with my mom. Now, mind you, I ain't seen her in 6 months. So my mom, she's all excited. "Oh, mijo, we're going to have fun. I can't wait to show you my new house, my new /house office. You're going to love it. Ooh, we're going to barbecue." And she's telling me we're going to have a grand time. And I'm like, "Yeah, cool, Mom, cool. Yeah, hell yeah. Fun. Oh, man, I'm excited. I can't wait. Man, I can't wait." And we're driving. Now, Mom's driving, and she pulls out towards the exit. We've been on the freeway for a while. She pulls out. And as the car starts coming, going past, I see a sign that says, "Welcome to the city of Downey." And I just said, "Downey." And I looked at my mom, and I said, "Mom, what's Downey?" And my mom says, Downey is, Downey is where dreams are made. She said, "It's home." I said, "All right, cool, shit." So we finally get there. And it's crazy because I'm expecting this big house, I'm expecting this big glamorous thing. And it's 4 small little buildings, office buildings, that shares a parking lot with a post office. So we get out of the car, and my mom's excited. She goes, "That's ours right there." And then I'm like, she goes, "What do you think?" And I said, Whoa. I'm like, "Is this it, Mom? Seriously, this is it?" She said, "Yes, this is it. What do you think?" And then she goes, "Yes, we even share a parking lot with a post office." And I was like, "Damn, Mom, that's cool." She goes, "And you know what that means?" I said, "I don't know. What? Get your mail on time?" She said, "Yes, and get your mail on time, you smart ass." Let me show you where you go to sleep. I said, "All right, cool, shit, let's go." So I'm all excited. I walk in a small little office, bro, small little office with some beaded little beads. Obviously, that's our living space. And a small little office with a kitchen to the right. And I hear music, and it's like Mexican music, the ranchera, I'm like, damn. And this little 25-year-old, really cool cat comes out of the beaded room, and my mom says, "Oh yeah, Jose, this is my son." And then Jose, who doesn't speak English, by the way, and my Spanglish is fucked up, but for some reason, he gets on his knees and he shakes my hand, and we're seeing eye to eye, so we vibe. So my mom says, I'm like, "Who's this?" And I'm like, "I thought it was just you and me, Mom." She's like, No, this is Jose." I'm like, "Oh, okay, Jose, 25 years old, my mom's flavor of the month, she's doing her thing." And I'm like, okay, so I accept it, and I'm here, fuck it, I'm gonna go with it. But this guy's cool, man. This guy just has soft eyes, and his energy and his vibe is good. So my mom's talking him up. She's like, "Oh my God, this guy, he's going to barbecue. Wasanun barbecue. It's going to be amazing. I promise you, you're going to love it." And I'm like, "Damn, hell yeah." And I'm like, cool. I'm just happy to be here. So we ended up all getting in the car and going to Albertson supermarket in Downey. So my mom runs off and gets her car. She goes out to the meat aisle. This guy goes to the charcoal aisle. And of course, I go to the toy aisle. I'm going looking for the toy aisle. There at the toy aisle, bro, I'm walking around, and I seen the most amazing fucking thing you can ever imagine. It was a Bryn 10 silver fucking pistol, just like Miami Vice, and with a bonus. The bonus was, check this out, the bonus is a holster, leather strap holster, just like Crockett. And I said, oh shit, I gotta have this. So I grabbed that toy and I just ran with it. And I'm looking for my mom aisle to aisle. I gotta have this. And there I see my mom, she's in the meat aisle. I walk up to my mom. I said, Mom, please, can I have it, please? Por favor, please, Mom, please. And of course, my mom looks at it. She looks at me. Maybe I didn't get up the chance seen in 6 months. She said, just put it in the goddamn cart. So I go and I put it in the cart. And then I said, no, I'll grab it back. And I held on to it. Man, I held on to that till we got to the car. We finished up our business at the supermarket. I'm in the back seat. I'm looking at this, man, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm excited to just open it up. Mom, please, can I open it up? My mom's driving. Mom, please, can I open it up? And then she said, just could you stop, please? I'm gonna drive. Stop that shit. Open it up when we get back to the house or slash office or whatever the hell you want to call it. And there I was, man, and I had to open it. So then Jose said something to her in Spanish. Déjalo quieto, por favor. Déjalo que juegue. You know, and basically say, hey, come on, chill, man. Just give me a little more play. So my mom said, just open that shit up. I opened it up, bro, and I ripped that shit out, and I had that gun in my hand. Man, did I feel the power of Miami Vice. I put that on that sling, bro. Oh, I put that Crockett gun in there, and boy, was I Crockett, I was feeling good. And then so we finally get back to the place. Now we're taking out groceries, and I'm taking a bag. I got my stuff on. My mom's got a bag. I go into the little place. We put the stuff away. Now Jose forgot the charcoal back in the car. So mind you, he goes out and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna fuck this guy up. Let's do this. So I grab my gun and I go right behind him and I get him in a headlock and I said, this is Crockett-like. I said in my sexiest Crockett voice, you got the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Now Jose's really cool. Jose's playing with me. So he's like acting, playing with it. So he goes with it as I'm dragging him. And then finally, I kick the door in and I push Jose in. Oh, man, I'm excited, bro. We're here. Music's playing. Mom's getting her grub on. She's doing her thing and her magic. This dude's barbecuing, setting it up. I'm the happiest I've ever could be, man. I'm there with my mom. I'm with Jose. And about 15 minutes later, we hear a bullhorn. We've got the place surrounded. Come out with your hands up. Now I look at Jose. Jose like, huh, well, okay. And my mom said, well, what is that? Now, mind you, I got this gun in my hand. My dumbass opens the door. And every cop in Downey, California and Southgate Police Department is, please, put your hands up. Put the gun down. I said, put the gun down. Now I'm frozen at the door. I got the gun in my hand. My mom's yelling from behind, put the gun down! Put the gun down! It's only a toy gun! She's yelling to the cops. And the cop says, put that, get out, step out, right now, step out! Step out! I'm like, oh, okay. So throw the gun, put the gun down. I throw the gun. I have my hands up, I'm shaking here. Get down. So I get down, spread eagle. 10 minutes later, myself, my mom, and Jose are all spread eagle. Now this cop has his neck, like his fucking knee on Jose's neck. And Jose can't breathe, and my mom's looking at this, and she's yelling, don't do that! He don't understand English, don't do that! And I'm like, Mom, please, chill. Right then, this cop, and I ain't kidding you, man, I'm telling you, this cop must have been like 6'10". Looks at me, man, takes his glasses off, and he says, come here. He goes, I almost shot you. Do you understand how close I came to shooting you today? I came this close. I almost pulled that trigger. He grabbed my Brent 10, snapped that shit in half. He said, I would have had to live with that for the rest of my life and carry that if I had pulled that trigger. I said, oh. Sorry. I see my Brent 10 broken. 10 minutes later, man, it all dissipates. Myself, my mom, Jose, we're all sitting on the couch, man. Music's playing. I could hear things burning. And all I could say is, anybody hungry? And right then, it just all came back. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and this is straight up. To this fucking day, I stopped watching Miami Vice. That's it.
Yeah, that's good. How do I bring you back? There we go. Yeah, so highlight you a little bit there. Just throwing it out with our patented first question. What were things that you noticed? Yeah, when you were telling that story, how did it feel to you?
Oh, bro, you know what, man? I've been out of the story game for 2 years now, man, because I'm building something. So I've been out of the story game for 2 years. But just bringing back, the piece is called In the Air Tonight. And I don't know, man. I feel like it needs love. Obviously, it needs some nourishment and some care. And, you know, there's something about story, and I'll tell you, because story, and both Nestor know this, but it changed my life, man. Story saved my life, straight up. It saved me, bro. It changed my life. So feeling this and being okay with being vulnerable and letting it out, because I'm not afraid of that no more. It's powerful, bro. And it just brought me back to that moment, you know, looking back in hindsight, man. I'm 50 years young, man, looking back, thinking about my moms and thinking about the situation at hand. But you know what, man? I learned something, man, bro. And I learned something now, man. This is powerful medicine you guys are messing with, man. And I'm glad to be a part of it, man. I'm just happy you guys got me here. I guess to answer your question, bro, a lot of thoughts and feelings and images and things came out, you know, and I just feel like it needs some love and some nourishment. So I just got to keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, let me say some things that I really loved about it. I really loved the physicality that you put into it. That's a big thing for me that I'm interested in seeing people do, and I think that doesn't get the attention that it deserves. A couple moments really stood out for me that worked for me. You getting the backpack on. You know, you're clearly an adult, but when you put that backpack on, that's really when it hit home. You were embodying that character. You were that kid again. And for the rest of it, for me, you were in that kid. And so it was like watching the kid tell me the story. And I really liked that about it. There are other interesting things. When you did the flat out, did you think about that? You know, I was laid flat out. Did you block? Was that just a natural thing, or in your practice of this, did you block that out a little bit? Because that really worked for me in how it looked on the camera.
Yeah, I've never done this on camera, by the way, bro. This is the first time, bro. So, no, man. I mean, I'm just here to tell, bro. Mac invited me, bro, and I appreciate it, man. And Nestor, thank you for coming, brother. You know, I just know how powerful this medicine is, bro. And I want to pass it on, bro. I just want to pass it on. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, be real with you.
Yeah. So I'll just reiterate that looked really good. The way you did it. If you're gonna do this somewhere else,
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
do you have any? It was a little over 10 minutes. Do you have any thoughts on what time frame you're looking for?
Now, here's the thing. So I can tell you what I want to do with this, man. I've got about 10 of these, bro. I call them spirituals. And there are about 10 spirituals that I want to take to, I want to do a street theater thing where I'll kind of give you a little insight as to what I'm doing, man. I'm actually riding a bike from Navy Pier to Santa Monica Pier down Route 66. And every place I stop, I'm going to set up my mic and I'm going to set up my story and I'm going to document my journey. But I'm going to go to every corner in the hood, man, every corner where I grew up in. And I'm going to go ahead and I think if I can heal the corner, man, I can heal it all, at least by sharing stories. There's a lot of stories on those corners, bro. They go unheard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to be documenting that. So this is sort of my way of saying, hey, bro, I know where you come from. This is my life. I can share this with you. But let me tell you what I think the power story can do for you like it did for me. I mean, that's just keeping it real 100.
Yeah. Hard agree.
Drew, that's awesome. Dan, I just wanted to add some comments from the chat. Time Plus Travel asked, did the cop show up because someone reported a gun? And Nestor asked, had you dreamed of being a cop like in Miami Vice, but when the cop broke your gun, did that go away?
I only wanted to be Crockett because he drove that fresh ass Ferrari and he had them hot chicks. So, I mean, to keep it real, that's really what it was. So that show for some reason spoke to me. Pam's and Crockett, that relationship, that Miami vibe, that, Phil Collins' Face Value record, In the Air Tonight, that song, that I have a vinyl, I'm a vinyl guy. So for me, listening to that, taking me back, there was something about that show and the way it was constructed that made me feel like it spoke to me. So yes, to answer your question, well, Nestor, in terms of police, no, hell no, I never want to be a cop, bro. If there's any cops out there, no disrespect, bro, that's just not me. But keep it real, bro. But I've been fighting authorities since 1972. But to keep it real, I'll tell you, I really believe that this show was powerful for me, and it really had an impact. What it did for me is I realized then, a lot of people I saw later on happen. A lot of kids have been killed by cops because of a gun, and because that cop told me I came this close to pulling that trigger, made me realize inside I could have been dead. I'm here having a good time with my mom and I'm excited, but I could have been dead that day. And somebody at the post office saw me grab him in a headlock, kick the door in, and even though he was playing with me, I must have been really into it, and I was. So they thought that I was actually taking my mom and Jose hostage. And that's what they ended up saying, man. I'm like, I'm 12 years old, bro.
So Drew, it takes me a while to recover from as you told this story,
I know, bro.
But structural things that you might think about. It's a very linear story, and it starts kind of it starts in that, when you get that call from your mom, which is a big, that's an important story point. And, then showing up at the office. But the next thing I think is the gun, when you see the gun and you want that gun, and so I'm just wondering if you would be up for maybe thinking about starting the story in a different place.
Oh, absolutely.
Like one possibility, you could start the story when you see the gun, and then fill us in about what had happened. Drop back as the narrator and fill us in about how come you're in the store and what's going on. That would be one place.
I like that. All right,
you could start, closer to the end where the you hear the bullhorn or whatever. But I think that you want to keep the surprise, But anyway, that's just, I don't know, Dan, what your ideas you might have about this, but I think that could be one way to kind of mix a little bit and actually shorten it down a little, make it a little more intense too.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to ask you about in that idea is we get no, in the current structure, there's no relationship with you and your dad, except that you say the situation is toxic. And I
my spouse a long time ago, bro. I didn't even have a relationship with my spouse to just recently, to be honest with you.
No, well, I shouldn't have, yeah, I started, you didn't even say dad, but whoever you were living with for 6 months, having not seen your mom, what wasn't working for you. So
no, because her son were heroin addicts, bro, and they were there as well. So
right.
It was negative. Yeah.
But by having that be the opening, it creates a question for the audience.
Okay.
And there's a good chance that you're going to lose people there because you don't answer that. So as you go on, it's like, are we going to get back to knowing what was going on? And so jumping to when you see the gun will alleviate that question, right?
Okay.
You'll get rid of that sort of wandering that the it's a fine line. You want to create this wonder, what's going to happen next, what's going on in the story, but you don't want people to be like, wait, what's that thing, while you're progressing in the story, because then you lose them. If they wonder too much, then they wander off the path.
Yeah, I feel you.
So I do think that is a possible good idea to go to the gun. But what will happen, I think, and we can test this out, but what will happen is it'll be less surprising if you open on the gun. Right now, I do not see the cop coming. And I want to ask that to the panel. I see Noah nodding his head. Did anybody else think that this was going to turn into a cop story?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so,
I did not.
Ask. I'm going to ask the chat too. Just throw it out. Was it surprising when the bullhorn came in? And were you a little bit like, oh, he did mention a gun? There's sort of a famous line when talking about stories. If you introduce a gun in the first act, it's got to go off in the third. It's a check-off line, and you totally you totally have it go off. So people in the chat have mixed responses as to whether they thought the cops were going to show up or whether this was going to get dangerous. But I do think if you start on the toy gun, a lot more people are going to have that tension right in the beginning.
Okay, cool.
And that's just a different effect, right? The surprise worked for me, but the suspense can also work.
Okay.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yes, please.
So I really liked that it's sort of, you're at this happy place with your mom, and then it just like turns completely dark. And I think that was one of my favorite like thing that happened in the story. And I feel the same way as Dan. Like if you start on the gun, I think I would definitely have known something, gun related and scary was going to happen. Where I was thinking of you could start the story is when you walk into your mom's home/office, because I mean personally I thought it was like a very beautiful scene and it's sort of idyllic. You have your mom and she's happy and you're happy to be with them and you're looking forward to this, barbecue. So I don't know. I was thinking that might be a place to start too, where you're like sort of at maximum happiness almost, and then it can be a surprise. But yeah, I really like the story. It's super, super powerful.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for
Appreciate that,
sharing
man.
it.
So
No,
I got
man, thanks
another.
for listening, bro.
I got another thing for you.
Yeah,
I was
brother.
just thinking. It
What's up?
sounds like some people were kind of didn't get it that it was because you were playing this game with Jose that he got. That's why the cops. And I think
Well,
if
there's a
you,
question. I just want to clarify that for the person who did it in chat. There's a question as to who do you think? Did you think the cops saw you, or that someone called the cops?
Somebody, obviously, the post office saw us. I mean, we share a parking lot with the post office.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know
the
if I said that clearly enough, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you could sort of
Right.
make sure that when you're doing that thing with Jose, that it's in the park. There's a post office there. It's in the parking lot. That's different than if it was, you were in a suburban neighborhood. And I know you told us that, but that's the scene. That's one of the scenes we really need to get. That you're in that parking lot when that happens, and there's other
Okay.
people around. That it's
Well,
post office people coming and going all the time.
I'm just curious because when we drove up, we parked the car by the parking lot, in the parking lot, and he went out to the car to get charcoal. So I just assumed that, but then I get what you mean. I mean, if you don't clarify that, I guess. Yeah.
It's just unusual because yeah. But anyway, you just think about that, Drew. Like how to.
Brother. Thank you, man.
There's this
Anything you
cool
say, bro.
idea about the storyteller is riding a motorcycle and the audience is in the sidecar, and so as you make your twists and turns, and you want to make sure that the audience member stays with you. That not like one of those old Buster Keaton movies where the sidecar, takes off in its own direction.
Yeah.
Right.
And what holds it there is that energy, the energy you're creating and the expectations you're creating and the expectations you're fulfilling in the story. So that's
Sweet,
why
man.
every audience member can be a really good feedback person, because the real question is, were they able to stay with you? Did they sort of get it? And so anything you can build in that energetically and detail-wise, hold that person, hold us all in, is good. So,
Okay, got it. No doubt.
Yeah.
Whenever you guys want me to execute it again, I'll execute it again. I mean, however you
Well,
feel. I like that play. I'll play that play. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to talk through it beat for beat and just like talk a little bit more before you do your next one. So in this version, let's start. Okay, no, we'll go back to the beat for beat, and I want to hit one more thing beforehand. How did people think about the way it ended? Because I have two sort of conflicting thoughts on that, but I want to get some voices in to inform me.
Well, Dan, I was going to chime in. Drew, thank you so much for your story.
Okay, thank you, Kat.
Nestor, yeah, that was awesome, and I loved how you were talking on the phone with your mom after not seeing her for 6 months, and then like you hold the receiver to tell us what's going on. That was gold. And also Nestor put in the comments, people of color know. And I interpreted that, Nestor, please forgive me if I misinterpreted it, but I interpreted that as once you introduce a brown kid and a gun in the scene, then as a person of color, you might start to think that this would end badly for that person who is a person of color with the gun in the scene. So I really appreciated how you actually let us be a child with you throughout the first part of this story. We didn't get a lot of why you were there with your grandma for 6 months. We just knew, okay, there's a reason that you're there with your grandma. We didn't get all the details about what was going on there, but it was necessary. But you were glad to hear from your mom. So that was good. We were able to go with you with your childhood enthusiasm and like Miami Vice, and we hear the theme song and, oh my gosh, look at the gun in the holster. Like we're there with you. So for me, you delaying the bullhorn and you being seen with the gun, the delay of that for me was very important to stay with you as a child, having a childhood experience free from fear. And then if you wanted at that point with the bullhorn to like fill us in as an audience that like, well, I'm going outside with this gun, and it didn't occur to me earlier when I was playing with Jose that somebody might have seen me with this gun, and so I'm still a kid. I'm not thinking that I should probably leave my toy in the house when I go investigate what this sound is. That's my only piece that I would add. Like, keep it out of the scene as long as you can to keep us with you as a kid. Because for me, when I hear a person of color telling a story that's going to involve the cops, like it's dread. And I didn't dread this story until the end. And I think that was just masterful on your part to get us there.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Kay.
Yeah. So that goes back to the idea of like choices. It creates these two different dynamics, and I just want to say it's a choice, and it's about what you want to do. Like, so if you want to create that dread, that's okay. You know,
that's just one way. Yeah, I like.
Yeah, that's just one way, and you know, and so anyway, with your ending as it is, what is
Can I just answer something, because I think it's funny? Somebody said time plus travel. The end seemed like a sitcom. Who's hungry? The laugh track. That's a good one, bro. Personally, man, that's what happened, man. But like with my mom, it always seemed like a sitcom with her, man, because every time I spent time with my mom, things got crazy. So there you have that, bro. But I like that. Thank you. Go ahead, man. Sorry about that, bro. Go ahead.
No, that's great. So with knowing that you're thinking about taking this and having sort of an artistic street preacher sort of vibe with it, I think
street theater, man. Yeah, street theater, bro. Street theater.
Yeah, street theater.
Yeah.
I think the ending lands really well, but I think for like a Moth style, people will want a little more hand holding as to what to think, right? That audience is gonna just be at the end and be like, whoa, okay, I know that this happened and that it's impactful and scary, but what's the takeaway? When you're telling it in this, I really like that ending because I just have this sense of I can do whatever I want. Like, I'm immediately open. You know, I want to tell you, like, I've seen, you know, that this gun pull situation twice, once with a toy gun on a kid. And it's just, it brings me right back. It's freaking terrifying. You know, I was like, my friend might die right here. And it's completely ridiculous. It's clearly a toy gun, right? No matter how good it looks. Any numbskull knows it's a toy gun, in my opinion. But they take it way too seriously, and the breaking up. Anyway, so those are the two choices. And what the question comes down to is, what's the takeaway that you want to leave people with?
To be honest with you, that's a good point, bro. For me, the takeaway, man, I just shared my soul with you, bro. So it's soul food. You're going to bring to it what you're going to bring to it. I mean, that's just what everybody has a different way of bringing something to it. You're going to bring to it what you're going to bring to it. But if there's anything I want you to get away with or just see is that, you know, here was a kid, man, who believed everything he saw on television. And because he believed everything he saw on television, he thought that was his reality. And the fact that he could grab a gun and do this, play with this guy, but yet somebody else had a different point of view and a different perspective and thought this was actually a crime in process, turned this into something completely different. And the police had no idea. See, back then, because of this situation, many kids were being shot because of the toys that were being made. And the toys that were being made weren't toys that were actually indicating fake to real. They looked so damn real back then. Today they have orange caps to give cops an indication. that that's a fake gun. Back then, they didn't. So if anything, man, times have changed. But hey, you just never know when someone's going to pull the trigger, man. And I started off my day excited to see my mom and ended my day having barbacoa, but also being on the ground, you know, held down by the cops for a gun that I thought was innocent in terms of play, but they thought was violent in terms of perspective.
So Drew, I think one thing I think about in terms of if you want to nail it a little differently at the end is I wonder
Sure.
how when you look, I mean, how did that impact the rest of your life? Were you still a kid who was fascinated with guns, or was the Miami Vice sort of the end of the guns for you? You know, because in the kind of growing up you're talking about, having a gun, continue to have guns would be pretty predictable, you know?
You know what? I grew up in a culture where guns were normal, bro. And everybody wanted a gun. Everybody had to have a gun. The one thing it taught me, and I will say this because it is a point, the one thing that it did teach me was that it's not something you want to play with, man. It's not a toy. And because the media, the violence in the media portrays it as something very, very normal in our society and our culture. And being a kid, man, I responded to that, you know?
But did you continue then to carry guns as a teenager or whatever?
Oh, hell yeah. I always carried a gun just to protect myself because I knew that if you got me before I got you, then that was going to be an issue for me. So, but when I found
then the question is that, you know, that did you, I don't want to beat this to death, but I'll just say one more thing. Yeah. Did you carry that gun in a certain kind of way with a sense of responsibility? You know, the kind of thing you're about now. That was connected to what happened with that cop.
Well, first and foremost, the gun situation. I mean, if I was carrying, bro, and I was packed because I didn't want to slip, whatever, you know, I'm in somebody else's neighborhood, some out of bounds, then I would say, honestly, I'm going to protect myself. But I was very conscious of the fact that if I got heat on me, I'm going to make sure that I'm calm and relaxed and chill, and you know that type of perspective. But yeah, man, guns don't solve shit. I mean, at the end of the day, I was just trying to survive, you know? But when I turned 18 years old, that's when my life changed, man. I met a beautiful woman by the name of Jocelyn Brando, who taught me a completely different way of thinking and looking at life. And I spent a year working with her, and she took me through a process of just understanding art, looking at art, going to museums, working on just being aware, being sensory aware of what was around me and different tastes. And she helped me build a palette. And when I saw that there was life outside of that nonsense, then I realized, man, yeah, all I could do, bro, is just keep moving forward and keep pushing forward. But looking back in hindsight now, I think that stories is what they need. I think stories is what I'd like to feed them because it's stories, man, that can really make an impact in people's lives, bro, because it happened to me, so I know it can happen to anybody else.
Yeah, so I think that those are two great themes. This idea of take it and do what you want with it, and this idea of this is an end of innocence for me.
Yeah.
Right? And I see where Mac is going. That end of innocence hit me that it was enough to say I never watched Miami Vice again.
No.
I don't need it to go back to the real gun. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's beat by beat this. And
I don't want to incriminate myself over here, brother. No, I'm just kidding, guys.
Too late, buddy.
He's talking about, yo, bro, you strapped? No, man, I'm not incriminating myself. Wasn't it about last
I'm
week?
sure that you had your conceal and carry permit.
You know I have my CC, man, no doubt.
Yeah. TJ's gonna be so bummed that he missed the show. Okay, beat by bit, because we've made some big structural changes here, I think. Let's just say we had a lot of options. There's a lot for you to play with, but let's just start in that store.
Yeah, cool.
And so we've got some stuff to play with and pack into that opening sentence. I haven't seen my mom in 6 months. And I think you can answer that question without the wander, wonder,
situation if you just tell us not to worry about it, right? Hey, I'm one of those kids that doesn't see their mom for 6 months, but when I see her, it is awesome. It is on. It's going to be an adventure. You know, I'm not trying to give you like straight lines, but I'm just giving an example of if you tell the audience not to worry about it,
yeah,
they're not going to worry about it. If you give this is just the way the life is for me, that's going to be enough for me to be like, okay, I know that we're not coming back to that.
Cool.
And so then you can just go straight into the, oh, I'm so excited about this gun, so and so on. And she's got this new boyfriend. He's awesome. And I think for me, it was really impactful, the scene of he doesn't speak. So you're going to have to do a little bit of flashback, right? If you start on the gun part, I just met him. He's awesome. Have that scene. He kneels down, looks at me eye to eye. Now we're man to man, and it's a vibe, you know. That
so I think what you're saying,
a big
bro,
piece of it where because it allows us to have that scene where you're taking him, and it's not dangerous. We know you guys are playing.
Gotcha.
So open with setting, catch us up, straight into the gun. Flashback into meeting the dude. And we're gonna get back. He's gonna barbecue and we're gonna play. And then the rest of it can be the linear, straight how you told it. And this ending, it's up to you. You know, if you just give us a little bit more of this is the end of my innocence, or a little bit of, hey, I tell these stories because they're soul food. And this is a thing that happened and it was impactful to me. And now we've started a conversation. You know, however you say that, this is going to be a thing to tweak. Ends are always going to be tweaking. But that's my thought for this run. And I think that's a good 5-6 minute story.
Cool. Appreciate it, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, you're up.
Yeah,
I will highlight you and whenever you're ready, man.
Go for it, bro. All right, so we start off with the store, right? All right, cool. So there I was, bro. I'm in Albertsons. I'm in Downey, California. I'm 12 years old. I'm in the aisles, man. The toy aisle. My mom's over in the meat aisle. Jose's over getting charcoal. Now, Jose is my mom's new boyfriend. He's 25. He's the flavor of the month. I'll get to Jose in a minute because he's actually a really cool cat. And here I am in front of the most amazing, most beautiful thing I've ever seen, man. We're talking about a Bryn tin silver-plated pistol just like Miami Vice. I gotta have this. And I grab it, and as I look at it, man, it even comes with a bonus. And the bonus, check this out, man. The bonus is its own gun holster, just like Crockett. See, you gotta understand. I'm a big fan of Miami Vice. Everything Miami Vice. Every time the show comes on, the first thing I do, bro, is I go get myself my watermelon pop rocks. My watermelon pop rocks and my Jolt Cola. All of the sugar and double the caffeine. And that's a ritual for me. I do that all the time, man. But this time, I got a phone call from my mom out of the blue. Totally interrupted the show. And I get a phone call. She says, Andy, I'm coming to pick you up right now. Now, my mom, she's a crazy New Yorican from the Bronx. She said, I'm coming to get you right now. Now, I ain't talked to my mom in 6 months. And let me explain this, man. She just dropped me off and told me she was coming right back. But I've been in my grandma's house for 6 months. So when she called me and said, Mijo, I'm coming to pick you up. I was like, but where you been? 6 months, Mom. But I was excited, man. I was excited to be there with my mom. So I got in the car with my mom, and here I am now in a fucking place I don't even know where the hell I'm at, Downey, California. And I'm at Albertsons. and we're gonna barbecue because she's been talking this food up all day long about how great he barbecues. Oh my God, he can barbecue. His barbecue is this and that. So I'm looking forward to that, but all I can think about is this Bryn 10. Damn, I gotta have this. So I go and I look for my mom and I'm going aisle, aisle, aisle. And finally I see my mom and I walk up to my mom and I said, Mom, please, please, Mom, can I get it, please? And I'm begging her, Mom, please. And she just looks at me. And I know maybe out of guilt because she ain't seen me in 6 months. She goes, just put it in the goddamn cart. So I went and I put it in the cart and then I grabbed it, man. Immediately held on to it. Now we're out of the store. Now we're back in the car. We're headed back to her house or / office or whatever you want to call it. Now we finally get there. Now you got to understand, she lives in these 4 buildings. She's got the one to the left, and it's in a parking lot that's right there by the post office. So she shares a parking with the post office. So there's people coming in and out all day long. So we take the groceries into her little house, little / office. And I'm happy, man, for the first time, man. I'm excited. I'm here with my moms. I'm here with Jose. We're barbecuing. The music's on. I couldn't feel any better, man. I feel finally I'm here. So my mom starts to cook. Jose goes out to the car to get the charcoal. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm going to get this food. And I just sneak up right behind him, grab him in a headlock, put it to his forehead, and I say, don't you move. In my sexiest Crockett voice, you got the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Now you understand, Jose, I just met him today, but yet this guy's so cool. We vibe. Speaks no English. My Spanglish is fucked up, but we vibe. And he's playing with me, man. So I carried him out while he's grabbing the box of charcoal when I'm carrying him out. And I kick the front door in and push him in, close the door behind me. And I just can't wait to eat his barbecue and eat with my mom and eat this food. I'm excited and glad to be here. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 15 minutes later, we hear a bullhorn, man. Come outside. The place is surrounded. Come out with your hands up. And I look at Jose. Jose looks at me and I said, "Get?" He said, "Get out." And my mom's like, "What?" So I've got this gun in my hand. I open the door, and every single cop from the Downey Police Department and the Southgate Police Department pulls out and says, "Please, put your hands up. Put the gun down. Put the gun down." I'm shocked. My mom's yelling from behind, "It's a fake gun. Put the gun down, Andy. Put the gun down." And I'm like this. So I dropped the gun. And they said, step out right now. Get down. Get down. Get down on my knees. Spread out. So I spread out. 15 minutes later, myself, Mom, and Jose are all spread eagle. Now there's this cop. He's got his knee on Jose's neck. And my mom screaming, leave him alone. He don't speak English. He doesn't know what you're saying. And I'm like, Mom, please. Mom, chill. It was right there. This cop. And I noticed him because he was like 6 feet fucking 10, at least in my eyes. Military looking motherfucker, just huge. Takes off his glasses slowly and looks at me, man. He says, come here. So I walk up to him. He goes, do you understand that I almost shot you? I came this close to shooting you. He grabbed my Bryn 10, boom, snaps it in two, and he says, I could have killed you. I would have had to hold that to my life. I would have had to carry that all my life. Man, I was like, oh, whoa. Things calmed down 10 minutes later, bro. Myself, Mom, and Jose, we're all inside the house now, man. I could hear food cooking, music playing. But it was quiet and silent, man. And I just said, does anybody want to eat? And my mom just got up, walked to the kitchen. Jose just got up and went to the grill. And I'll tell you something, man, to this day, I stopped watching Miami Vice. I said, bro,
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
That got you in right at 6:30,
All right.
Wow.
which is the perfect time for a moth story. They let you go about 30 seconds over on their 6 minutes. Yeah, thank you so much for playing with it and giving and getting feedback.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys, man. I'm gonna keep playing with it.
That
Man. I
is-
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great story. And also sorry that happened to you.
No, I'm not, bro. That's just part of the life, man. I'm not sorry, bro. I'll tell you, thank you, bro, for that.
Sure.
I appreciate it. But I'm not sorry, bro, because it made me who I am today. And to be honest with you, that's just another chapter in my life, bro. You know?
Yeah.
I think I'm blessed I am alive. I'm blessed I'm alive, bro.
Yeah, I think that you have a healthier, you sound like you have a healthier perspective on that sort of moment than maybe I do, for the few that I've been in.
Feel you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw it over to Mac, and we're gonna transition to the end of our show.
Cool.
So
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
hate to do this to you, but I'm gonna tell your story again in my own
No, go ahead,
my own
man.
voice.
Have fun with it, bro. Have fun with it. Have fun with it.
All right.
So,
Do we know who to throw it to explain this last part of the show?
yeah.
Whose turn is it? Just to give the audience a second about what we're gonna do.
Right.
I think it might have been TJ today. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it real quick. All right. So what we do here at Storyluck in the workshop is we have someone who didn't tell the story tell one of the two stories as though they personally had lived it. And that retelling can be very powerful for the person who had originally told the story. It makes you feel very heard, and it can be very validating. But for our audience, a big reason that we do this is so that you can see the power of voice in a concrete way. And we think that that's a powerful thing, and it's a hard thing. And to sometimes get, people are always saying, you got to have your own voice. And it's like, what does that mean? You're going to get to see that right now in Mac's telling.
Awesome.
So I'm like 12 years old, and I'm riding in the back of this car, and we just been to Albertson, and my mom and her boyfriend, they bought all this barbecue and all this good stuff. But I think I'm about to experience the happiest day of my life. See, I got this great toy, something when I saw it, I just fell in love with this. But I'm sitting in the back seat, and I want to rip this thing apart, and I want to get it out. My mom's like, no, don't do that now. Look, we're going back home. There'll be time for that. And see, my mom is really something else. I hadn't seen her. I hadn't even heard from her for 6 months. I'd been living with my grandma, and she calls out of the blue. And she says, I'm coming to pick you up. And I was sitting there watching Miami Vice. I got my caffeine. I got my sweets, my sugar. I'm like pumped. But my mom calls, and I can't believe it. I haven't heard from her in so long. And she said, I'm coming to pick you up. I put on my backpack. I'm like ready to go. I'm standing on the street corner waiting for her to pick me up. So, this is amazing. And I got this toy I really want. And I really want it because of Miami Vice and how much I love it. And this guy Crockett in Miami Vice. And Jose, her new boyfriend, who, she's like a lot older than he is. And these boyfriends come and go. They're mostly a lot younger than her. And she's still a hot chick, but she's starting to show her age. But this guy, he doesn't speak English really. But when I met him, he knelt down on the ground and he looked me in the eye and he shook my hand. And I thought, wow, I got got my mom. I got this guy. We're going to celebrate. We're going home to do barbecue at her place. And he says in Spanish, just let him open it. What's the problem? You know, I got somebody on my side, you know? And so I go ahead and I open this thing. And, you know, it's this print-in gun, just like Crocodile Miami Vice has. And it's got a holster. And I slip the holster on and I slip the gun in the holster. And we pull up. And my mom talks about her home. But really what it is right now is it's just a parking lot and sort of a strip mall. And the post office is right there, right next to where she's living. And we park in the parking lot and, you know, there's lots of people around and stuff, but we go back in her house carrying groceries and it's real small. It's just like an office and there's a little bit of beaded curtain that takes you back into a bedroom or something. But I am like psyched. I got my mom. I got my toy gun. I got Jose, who's like going to be a buddy. I know it, you know, and he's about the same size I am. He's just a little guy. And Jose says, hey, I'm going out and I'm going to get the charcoal, man. And so he goes out to the car to get the charcoal. And I think this is it. And I slip out the door and I come up and back of him as he's taking the charcoal out of the car. And I put the gun to his head. And I said, you're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say might be held against you. And he's laughing and I'm laughing. And I sort of almost can pick him up. And he's got the charcoal and I drag him through the parking lot and stuff like that. And I get to the door and I kick it in and I throw him inside. And I go in and I put my gun back in my holster. And we sit down. We start visiting. Things are fine. Happiest day of my life. Then outside, this is, come out with your hands up. We got you surrounded. Come out, come out. What the hell is this? And Jose and my mom are just sitting there. I go to the door. I open the door. I got my gun in my hand because the first thing I did when I heard that is I pulled the gun out. So somebody's in trouble, you know? My gun. And I start out the door and the cop says, drop the gun. Put your hands up. Get out of here. And I drop the gun and I put my hands up and I get down on my knees. He says, down on the ground. And I go down on the ground. I'm 12 years old. And my mom is out. And Jose is out. And the cop is like, everybody's like so excited. I mean, they're lousy with cops. And this big cop, I mean, he must be 7 feet tall. I mean, he really stands out. He comes over to me and I look at him and he says, you know something? I could have killed you. And if I had killed you, I would have had to live with that for the rest of my life. What the hell were you thinking about? And he picks up my gun. This gun that I just unpacked. And he breaks it right in two and he throws it on the ground. And slowly the cops tell us we can get up and they go and we sort of stagger back into this little office home of my mom's. And she starts doing a little cooking, getting some beans on the stove. I can smell the barbecue starting. Jose gets the barbecue. And we're sitting there and I smell those smells. And I say to her, hey, anybody hungry? And we have a pretty good time. But you know, it put me off Miami Vice, and I never could watch that show ever again.
Yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Beautiful, man. Thank you, bro. That's powerful. I see what you guys mean, man. That's powerful, straight up. That's some powerful stuff, man, to hear it back, you know, to reflect it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing stories with us and being part of this Story Luck community, doing a workshop with us. Thank you,
everybody. We're going to be hanging out in Discord after the show. I've sent a link that people can jump onto. And we are just going to say goodnight and goodbye from the bottom of our hearts. Exactly as Andrew said, telling stories, sharing them with people. It's a conversation and it's a way to connect. And thank you for doing that with us tonight.
Yeah, and thank you, Kay, for putting your 99-second story out there. It's great. And Drew, for coming on the show.
Thank you, brother.
Always,
Appreciate it.
it's always a risk to tell a story and to share it. So thanks so much.
I love this stuff, bro.
For coming
I love
in.
this stuff. Thank you.
And folks in the chat, it's great to have you along for the trip as well. Thanks. In the Greyhound bus, all in their seats, right? Yeah, almost 4 people tonight. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.